Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today. This is an EH1 course title for homeowner association managers and board members. I am Peggy West. I'm the organizer, and today we have several sponsors on today that may be a great deal of help to you while you're taking bids and coming to the end of your budget season and maybe planning your annual meetings. With that, I want to get started by doing a little bit of housekeeping. Since we have so many people in the class, I don't know how many of you are new, but if you would, please put your questions into the Q&A box, the question and answer box, and not the chat. The chat is really for comments and to see information on the vendors or the sponsors. And then afterward, I will send everyone a sponsor sheet with everyone's contact information on it. So if you don't have time or can't get to the exact notes about the sponsor you might be interested in, I will send out a sponsor sheet following the class. Please allow Dr. Tom here today and possibly Jayme and Deneen to post these credits within about 10 days following the class. Okay, so many of you are board members. You're going to be getting your HOA certificate, and then the class will be posted as an absolute CEU credit as well. The only other thing I want to say is that we do have a recording of this course for you. Any of those that want to share it with your other board members, I think would be very helpful. You cannot get a credit on just viewing the recording. You can only get a credit for managers and a certificate or be certified if you're actually on the class. All right, so with that, let's get started with introducing some of our outstanding sponsors. These are professionals that have been in the industry for a while, and I know them, many of them personally. I'm going to start out today with First Citizens Bank. Today we have from the Tampa or the East Coast area of Florida, we have Deneen Barnum on. Deneen, you want to introduce yourself and what you guys do for the industry?
Thank you, Peggy. Good afternoon, everyone. As Peggy shared, my name is Deneen Barham. I serve as the Regional Sales Officer in Community Association Banking at First Citizens Bank, and I cover the West Central Florida market. In a moment, you will hear from my counterpart, Jayme Gelfand, and Dr. Tom Engblom. You're in for a treat with this class. If you didn't know, First Citizens Bank is a fourth generation run, family-led institution. It's 128 years history in banking, and we serve as a top 20 financial institution located in Raleigh, North Carolina. Within our banking division, we partner with property management companies and large self-managed associations. We provide specialized banking solutions, including association loans, lockbox services, and expanded FDIC insurance coverage for deposits over 250,000. Thank you, Peggy.
Okay, awesome. Very good. All right, moving along now, I want to introduce Diana Alert. Diana, we can't see you, but I see your box there. Hi there. Welcome. Diana is the Vice President for Best Roofing. Please tell us about yourself and also what is Best Roofing doing these days?
Yes, good afternoon, Peggy. Thank you so much, everyone. As Peggy said, I'm the VP of Business Development at Best Roofing. Best Roofing is a company that has been in business for 48 years, and we cover the whole state. So we do like a little project too big. We do absolutely anything and everything you need. We can do a repair, a maintenance program, an inspection, roof recovery, absolutely anything and everything. As I said, we do single family homes. We do big projects like high rises, warehouses, commercial buildings. So we cover every single vertical, apartment buildings, absolutely everything. And today, because you are here, we're offering a free roof estimate. So if you're ready for one, if you want to know the condition of the roof, please contact me. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Thank you so much. Perfect. Yeah, this is a great time to get a free estimate because we're still in hurricane season and if you get it taken care of ahead of time, that's always best. So with that, I'm going to introduce Daniel Baum. He's with COA Solutions. He had a family emergency he had to go to, but he is a highly recognized insurance broker. And if anyone wants their policies evaluated, reach out to Daniel from the sponsor sheet. Next, I want to introduce, let's see who's here. We have Shawnee on from Munyon Painting, Shawnee Haas. Shawnee, please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Peggy. Hi, I'm Shawnee Haas. I'm the marketing manager from Munyon Painting. We are a painting contractor that covers the entire state of Florida, but we did start right here in Tampa about 75 years ago. We are third generation owned and operated. Over the decades, we've had the privilege of painting everything from residential homes to commercial buildings, high-rise buildings, condominiums, and HOA communities. There's absolutely no job that's too big, too small, whether it's a high-rise or just a pool house, we'll cover it. We also specialize in exterior, interior, and electrostatic painting, bringing the same commitment to quality, professionalism, and customer service to every project. Thank you so much for attending today's webinar, and I look forward to speaking to anyone who needs to reach out for a painting quote.
Awesome. Very good. All right. Next, I want to introduce Bob Aleka, Vice President for Community Services at Faster IO. What is Faster IO?
Well, thanks, Peggy. Good afternoon, all. We've been providing fiber optic infrastructures for over 25 years. What makes us different from everybody else is that we have a dedicated fiber to the unit and dedicated back to the circuit, opposed to a circuit coming into the property and then it's shared among all the units. Very important for AI today, for privacy, especially for the offices that are doing sensitive information of your residents. Streaming TV, you can change your address 4 times a year and get the zip code from those areas that you live. When you come back, you can change it back or not. You get 20 streams. That means you can have 20 devices, TVs, iPads, iPhones, whatever, all concurrently at the same time. And no property is too small for us. We're doing properties as small as 20 and 30 units. So if you're looking to get a little bit more information, or if you want to get another bid, please give me a shout. I will put my information down below. And thank you. Thanks, Peggy. Enjoy the class.
You're welcome. Thank you for getting on. Okay, next I have Diego on. He is with Balganic. Diego, he's in the marketing team. Please tell us about yourself and also what does Balganic do, because you're very specific attorneys.
Yes, hi everybody, and thank you, Peggy, for the introduction. My name is Diego Bedregal. I work with Balganic LLP, and we are a Florida-based boutique law firm with powerhouse capabilities. We work specifically on construction defect litigation and first-party insurance recovery, helping property owners and community associations protect their properties and pursue the recovery they're entitled to. We have recovered more than $1.25 billion with a B for our clients and handled hundreds of complex cases. What sets us apart is our approach. We combine deep experience with a dedicated hands-on legal team, so our clients have the strategy, communication, and support they need from start to finish. Thank you, everybody, for joining, and enjoy the class.
Thank you so much. And I just want to mention that on August 26th, and I'll mention this again, we have Peggy Vivas coming in from Balganic, who's going to give an HR class, which should be right under the wire for your credits for your CEU requirements if you need that. But she's going to speak on emotional support and communication. So don't miss that class. And then followed by that in September, if you're in the West Palm Beach area, we're going to have a happy hour for managers. And I'll send you information out about that. Next, I want to introduce, let's see who's on. I'm trying to find who's on first before I move on. I'm just going to have to introduce everybody else as we go. Let's start with United Professional Engineering. Siobhan Gonzalez is the contact there. Her owner is Carmelo Giglio. He's been a past president 2 times for the state of Florida Instructional Engineering Association, and very accomplished with 25 years in business under his belt. He does do the special inspections, and he holds a SI designation, which is coveted pretty much. There's only about 20 of them in the entire state. So he is very credible. I also want to introduce Damaris Cabrera. She is with Clarkson and Varick. They are elevator consultants. So if you're interested in a consulting opinion, that would be the way to go before you do any installations. We also have WRG, the Water Restoration Group. Aaron Nickerson is the contact there. They are very, very well known for handling any leaks in your buildings from the top story to the bottom or anything in between. We also have Southwest Elevator as the sponsor today. They will also be on the sponsor sheet. The contact there is Brooke Cavender and Brandy Cavender, her sister, or Claire Fernandez. And they do specialize in new elevator and maintenance for elevators for new construction as well as repairs for those you already have. We also have PD Concrete. PD Concrete is specialized in concrete restoration. A lot of that's going on. If you need a bid or you want to recommend them to an engineering firm that you're using, the owner has been around over 20 years and always available. So that would be Daniel Pena. We also have the paving lady. Dawn Miller is the contact there. She works with her owner, who's been in business for over 35 years, Mauro Camuzzi, very well known from South Florida up into the Orlando area now. And I think they're going up a little bit even further north to the Vero Beach and Indian River area. So if you need something for paving, you need a bid, they're very competitive and very reliable. We also have Hafer Company, full service CPA firm. Nicole Johnson is the contact there. She does have, or they do have 4 offices around the state, housed primarily in Palm Beach Island over here in West Palm Beach area. So reach out to her if you need any audits or anything to do with CPA needs. Then we have Ben Friedman. He is the owner, president of City Quiet Windows and Doors. And Ben's been around also for a long time. He also has 4 offices around the state of Florida. And last but not least, I'm going to introduce Vinteum software. I appreciate the team helps me support all my webinars. You guys are awesome. And today we have Carol on. Carol is going to introduce the company. So Carol, tell us about Vinteum. You have some exciting things to say.
Thank you, Peggy, and hi, everyone. My name is Carol, and I'm a part of the Vinteum team. We're here today to introduce you to Neigbrs, our all-in-one community association management platform. Basically, Neigbrs gives board members and property managers one simple place to manage everything they need for their community. You can have your own community website, communicate with residents, host visual board meetings, and something really important for today's webinar, you can also store and share documents. And one thing we really focus on is keeping it simple. So even if you're not particularly tech savvy, Neigbrs is designed to be easy to use, and there's also a mobile app so you can stay connected and manage things right from your phone. We'll also build your community website and help you get your portal set up. So if you ever need help, we provide training for managers, board members, and residents, along with ongoing support. So if you're looking for an easier way to manage your community and keep everything in one place, we'd love to connect. We'll share information in the chat, and feel free to reach us out directly if you need. We'll be happy to learn a little bit more about your community and show you how Neigbrs works. So thanks, everyone.
Very good. Nice, Carol. All right. So they are the website people. I totally support their ideas, their operations, and they are one of the best actually in the country. So get a price from them. They're very affordable and very reliable. So thank you again, Paula and Fabricio. I started to say Francisco. Fabricio. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jayme Gelfand. She is the Vice President for First Citizens Bank, working very closely with our speaker today. Jayme, tell us about yourself first, please, and then turn it over to Tom.
Thanks, Peggy. First of all, those are some great sponsors that you've highlighted here today. For all of the board members and CAMs on this class, I hope you take the opportunity to use all of the great expertise that Peggy's provided you here. My name is Jayme Gelfand. I'm also a regional sales officer as Deneen. My only additional comment to her introduction is that if you're looking for financing for any projects that you're working on at your property and you need to take out some type of loan, we are here to assist, and we do not require you to move your banking relationship, which is a big plus to not interrupt your unit owners. So with that, I'd like to introduce Dr. Tom Engblom. Tom is also a regional sales officer at First Citizens Bank. His credentials are extremely long, and he would take up the whole hour just telling you who he is. So I'm just going to let you tell you who he is and what he's here to share with you today.
Thank you very much. For some of you that know me, my background, I've been in the industry for too long, over 43 years. I started when I was about 5. I'm originally from Illinois, and I used to supervise 20 of the largest buildings in Chicago for 20 years. Since that time, I've also worked for First Citizens Bank for 23 years. I cover 7 states in the Midwest, and I live in the Panhandle, and I cover that. So I have the utmost respect for everyone that's a licensed CAM, because how difficult it is and how much knowledge there is that you have to deal with. I have many credentials, as you can see, and I have a doctorate in business administration, project management, and somehow, some way, I was persuaded to become a board president of a high-rise in Panama City Beach. So I feel everyone's pain on this every day. So what do most people do, especially people that have doctors? We do a lot of research and dive into this. And being the board president for going on 5 years now, we do everything by best practices. So one of the components that we have, and I like having a good time and having some humor, so I'll fill a couple voids. Everyone should pass this class. We're going to have some questions at the very end that are fun, I think, and you can get into some of the information. A lot of the information, we're not going to dig too deep, and probably the majority of you are dealing with this every day when you're out there. So I have a few disclosures that I have to release, and this is all my material. It is not the direction of First Citizens or CIT. And the other component that if you need to, please pursue the professionals that are on here, whether legal, accounting, roofing, whatever the case may be, because they're your example and they can give you great knowledge and experience. Again, I'm a doctor of philosophy, not a medical doctor or an attorney, but I do a lot of research. I write books about this quite a bit. I speak, I lecture. So this is like second nature to me. One of the components, I'm pretty self-marketing that I like to do. And I have over 26,000 people that I've connected to on LinkedIn. My goal is to be 30,000. So if you get a chance, reach out to me. There's a lot of good information that I put on there and give you support. So what does this all come down to? Well, whether you're a board member, whether you're a contractor or a manager, you have a fiduciary duty that you have to maintain. And that fiduciary duty is always put the association first, not your personal preference. I always start with that because it's so critical. So a lot of this information here is, again, common sense, but Florida has requirements that you have to fulfill as a board member, as a manager, general manager, LCAM, however you want to define yourself. And it's pretty detailed about some of the information. And honestly, it's somewhat shocking, in my opinion, to know to the extent that they have to go. And again, lecturing across the country and being in Illinois my entire life, we had manager licensing there. And I thought the licensing in Illinois was pretty strict. It's nothing compared to the way it is in Florida. So you have to pat yourself on the back and give yourself a salute. I'm sure you probably feel this way at many board meetings that you get into, that there's a lot of responsibility that you're dealing with every day. And the managers are the front line of defense and they have to go through the process. But remember, they are, or you are, the professional. You're the one that has to give guidance to the board. Because remember, board members can be novice in this particular area. And we all know that it's very, very challenging to get people on the board and follow through on what they need to do. So again, a lot of this is probably redundant for you, but you have Florida statutes and the laws are pretty defined of how they're broken out and what needs to be done and how the requirements need to be shared with everyone. One of the components that I found very interesting, and I think this could make it very, very challenging for some associations, is that it states that your association records have to be stored in the county in which it's located or within 45 miles of that location. So where I live in Panama City Beach, I'm on the far west end of Bay County. Imagine if the management company was on the far east side of Bay County. That's an hour and a half drive to get that to that location. So I think part of the issue that you have to address is where the records stored, how are they stored, and we're going to get into that a little bit and how you're going to manage that. So I think that's a critical component that everyone should be aware of. Florida law says, and we're going to discuss this in somewhat detail, but the majority of your records you should keep for a minimum of 7 years. Some you should keep during the entire life expectancy of the association, and we'll break those out. But at the bare minimum, you have to keep them for 7 years, and they have to be available for inspection. Now, I do a lot of lecturing for education and whatnot as well, besides working for the bank and facilitating loans and everything that Deneen and Jayme do as well. So I always come up with acronyms. And this is the priority of the hierarchy of association documents. And I remember it at Mad Art by Boers. So that is the components going from the most stringent map, plat, and declaration, articles of incorporation, bylaw. And of course, I could talk about each one of these for 5 minutes or so, but I'm hopeful that you're knowledgeable about what these do. And the majority of what the board does, they always do it by a board resolution. And that board resolution can be broken into different components that we talk about. But look at the best practices, what it shows there that you should have. Governing documents, building plans, reserve studies, and the whole component about reserve studies. Now you have to add SIRS into that, milestone, the different aspects that are part of that. And it's kind of interesting that at times when we have to do a bank loan, we ask for the documents of the association. And you would be surprised how many associations do not have their amendments handy. They're recorded with the county, but they don't have them on file. So my whole premise there is, imagine that a new buyer coming in is trying to buy something at that association and they don't have the proper amendments. You could open up Pandora's box. That could be an issue. It could be a problem. What's going to happen? Insurance claims could be another component that you could think about. So look at the official checklist of what you have. Again, it's a lot of redundancy that we may have, but look at what you may have. Board resolutions, articles of incorporation, and going back to tie everything together. Again, when we provide a bank loan, one of the questions that comes up all the time is, am I personally liable as a board member? And the answer is no. Why? Because we're dealing with a corporation. That's why it's critical to have articles of incorporation. You're a corporation, and who is your registered agent? I'm hopeful that it would be one of your attorneys that you deal with, because you want to have a direct contact with them should something go wrong, or if there's served with a lawsuit. But look at all these documents that are required, and you need to keep them forever and a day. So imagine, again, this happens all the time, and I've heard it in my career all the time, and I've personally experienced it. We're switching management companies, and we're not getting all the records. We're not getting all the files, or they gave us 3 boxes. How can an association function like that? And I can tell you, being a board president, I dread when we have a new CAM come in. Why? Because what do I have to do? I have to educate that manager from the beginning that I've been there since 2020, and we retain our CAMs with longevity, but it's like a recycle, a start over. Well, the same would hold true with going with a new management company or even a new board of directors. How complicated are their records? What do they have in file? Do they have storage? So those are very, very critical components that you have. Again, permanent retention, amendments, policy resolutions. Do you have a policy in place for how to provide information to an owner that wants it? Do you have a policy resolution on collection? These are all critical components that you have to have. And one that I didn't even put in there, I think would be phenomenal, and this is what we used to do in Chicago. We would have documentation for a new owner coming in to provide all this information. We would even have an interview with them so they knew where they could start, where they could park, if they could move in, all the different required fees that are critical. And I think, why do you do this? Because it provides transparency. It's all about information, being successful, and trying to be involved. So,
Tom, before you move on, one of the important things that you were talking about also brings into mind about websites that associations are required to have, and that one of the sponsors that are here today that support us, Vinteum, is that's their exact program. They provide the storage, the ability for owners to log in, have their own login information to be able to access all of that information online. So are you going to be talking about, so you are talking about website. Sorry.
yes, hey, you beat me to the punch. What is
Okay.
true? So it's right there. Think about what Jayme just said. What are the official requirements? Well, starting in January of this year, if you have 25 or more units, you need a website or a secured portal. HOA, 100 or more units, and that was over a year ago. How many of your associations that you manage today, whether you're a board member or the licensed manager, that you have a website? And their website is very detailed. I love it. I think it's great. In my aspect, I'm going to show you a couple of slides that we do something a little bit different, but it fulfills the requirements. So if you don't have a website, as Jayme said, and here's the actual laws that require it, and when it went into effect, you're in violation. So you better, at the end of this education session, call Vinteum and get working on it right away, because it's a critical component. Here's a little bit of humor, because I like having humor. Sometimes it doesn't come across it too well. I can tell a lot of jokes. People think I should be a stand-up comedian. I'm being serious now because I was introduced as a doctor. But how many people, this goes back to what I said, how many people actually have this information stored in a proper location? Do you have it in a filing cabinet? Do you have it digitized? These are critical components. And think about, we live in Florida. What happens in Florida? You have hurricanes. Can your association be flooded? What's going to happen to the filing cabinets? Are they going to be damaged? Are they going to be destroyed? You have to have this information. And I'm going to make this comment one time, and there's actually a slide about this, but why recreate the wheel? Why recreate all the documents that you have? There's no need to do that. And this is what it goes into now. Technology has come so far that you can digitize everything and keep the records, keep the information, store it. Um, you don't need to have paper copies. I haven't had a paper copy of my management report in the 5 years since I've been there. I serve on several other boards. I don't have physical copies. Everything that I do on my laptop or on my iPad. So start considering how you're going to preserve these items and keep it. And it's very, very simple to get into. So where I'm at, we are, call it self-managed. We have a full-time licensed manager, but we use an accounting firm. And ironically, this accounting firm is located in Phoenix, Arizona. So we're in Florida, they're in Phoenix, Arizona, and they have a software that we use. And because of the software that they use, we have all our documents stored on their system, and people can log in and you can see everything that's there. Public, it's broken down by year. And here's another component that you can see that these are just screenshots. Look at how simple this is. And you can see when it was updated or last time someone would put information in there. And there's components for the public, there's components for homeowner, the board. So for example, the one area there shows financial, but that's board related. Well, why is that board and not public? Because in that particular package, we show the delinquency and we show other components that we should not disclose to the public. So we have those financials in a different area that someone can see. We just, in fact, most recently, probably in the last 30 days, we just posted our updated audit. We just posted our updated reserve study and our SIRS. This is easy processes. It's just to train yourself on how to go through the process and make it efficient. Because
Tom, I have two great questions before you move
Mhm.
on. I have a question from Autumn. I'm an on-site CAM. The community is 900 units. They don't have a website, but the management company has a resident portal through Vantica. Does that qualify for a website by law?
Well, again, I'm not an attorney, but the answer, in my opinion, would be yes,
Mm-hmm.
because again, I don't want to disclose the software, but I would say that what I showed you is the same reflection of what you're using.
And the next question is very similar. Marley asked, isn't the HOA allowed to store its records through the portal of a property management company? We have a backup archival digital system.
And the answer is yes. You have that storage, you want to keep it. And again, think about if a owner requests that information, how simple is it to forward that information to them electronically? And again, I'm all about efficiency. I lecture a lot about burnout, how to be efficient, how to be productive. Why do you want to recreate the wheel? That if that is information that a homeowner can obtain, why do they need to contact you if they can go to that portal and grab it? That's one less email. That's one less phone call that you have to deal with. You have enough going on in your careers that you don't need to be taken back or have to deal with a unit owner about seeing the July financial or the minutes. If they're on a portal, they have access to it.
Peggy has a question, Tom.
Yes.
I just wanted to comment that, I think the law made a mistake when they didn't use the word or add the word autonomous on these websites because, uh, I haven't managed a property, but having worked for a management company, I cannot tell you how many times it took forever, if never, which they're supposed to by law, turn over their records. So if you always have your own autonomous website, you can always add a link to your website to go to Vanica or to go to wherever, Valley Bank, First Citizens Bank, whatever. You can always add a link. But if you're autonomous, no one can ever take your records away under any circumstance. So that's just my recommendation from
Thank you.
experience.
Again, in our position, because of the lockbox services that we offer, there's 45 different softwares that are out there that come to mind. Some are obviously better than others because of the technology and sophistication. But I think generically, the majority of them would allow you to store documents on their system. And again, when you look at the previous slide, it says you have to have a website. It doesn't define basically what a website is. And I'll give a simple statement. My board, one of the reasons why they enjoy that I'm on the board is because of my experience and knowledge that I bring. But the vice president has said to me many times, Tom, your number one goal as president is to keep the association out of litigation. So everything that we do by best practice. I won't sign any agreement unless I have our counsel look at it. So did we verify that what I showed you is acceptable for a website? Absolutely. It's within the law. So I would suggest that if you have a concern, you have an issue, reach out to your attorney. It should be a short review and they should be able to comment on that. But it's better to be precautionary than to get dragged into court or get fined. Because we'll talk about that in a minute, potentially what you could be fined up to. And again, going back to me, because I'm all about acronyms and trying to educate you, how do I remember the types of meetings that there are? Well, I remember that as CAMs. So think about the 4 types of meetings that are out there for your association, and should they require minutes? And the answer is yes. So now those minutes have to be stored, they have to be reviewed, they have to be approved. And then here's going back to about recording devices. So again, if you have an online meeting and we use Outlook, why do we use Outlook? Because we don't want the board's personal emails to be reviewed. Because if you have any type of litigation, what's the first thing that they're going to do for discovery? They're going to look at email. So they're going to pull up my personal email. No, I have a email called president@thisassociation.com. So we do everything by Teams. And what do you do with Teams? We record the meeting. And what do? We take that link and we put it on our system, and it stays on that system for 1 year. If you're an HOA, you're not required to do that. So it's a little bit more stringent for an association, but that's a requirement. Well, if you don't have a website, where are you going to put that link? You're going to put it in an email? You're going to send it in a newsletter? You got to be able to think outside the box. So here's a good question for you, just to keep things going. If you read that question, you have a choice, A, B, C, or D. And everyone should go with D, greater legal weight in court based on the hierarchy of the document. Why is that important? Because it would be the criticalness of you recording and placing a document on your website. There's another one for you. What type of resolutions do you have? Well, everything that the board does, they do in a resolution format. And who should keep that? Well, in theory, the secretary, because we're in condo heaven here, but the secretary should keep that book of resolutions. But who's that going to fall upon? It's going to fall upon the manager. And that manager should keep the resolution because that's just another name for a vote. And how many different types of resolutions do you have? Well, you have 4. And how do I remember that? I remember that as GAPs, General Administrative Policy and Special. So now, not only do you have a resolution book, but now you could break those down into the 4 different types of components that you have. So it would be very, very simple if someone wants to know if the pool hours were changed. Well, you would go to a policy resolution, or if something was done for an individual. Very, very simple to keep this organized. And then within that process, you create a format on how you approve a resolution. And I remember that as passed. And I know this is somewhat different than record keeping, but it all falls in that place for you about what you're trying to do. What is the purpose? Who has the authority? What is the specification or scope for that? Okay, here's another quick question for you. What sets forth, including notice, quorum, meeting, and everyone should know without a doubt that the bylaws are that process, because what does that do? They're the administrative arm of that. And probably within your documents, it states that you have to require retention of documents. All right, now we're getting into a different component. All those other components that we talked about was information that related to the association as a whole. This is now related to the membership records. Do you have an owner roster? Well, the majority of people in here are probably have some type of software. So you have that. Do you have a mailing address? Do you have voting certificates? Do you have tenants that live there? Do you have electronic consent form? I'm sure, at least in my area up here in the Panhandle, everyone is getting ready for their annual meeting. And if they're getting ready for their annual meeting, what is one of the components that they're going to make sure that in that packet they have electronic consent form? Where are you going to store that? You're going to store that in the record of the association. So the majority of this information is very, very important. Again, look at all the items that you have to maintain. Again, some of them we've already talked about, that you got to keep board minutes forever. Meeting notices, it shouldn't change from certain periods. Election records, we're going to get into a little bit more detail right here, but look at all the information that you should keep. And again, minutes are critical. You have to keep them forever and a day. Now, but essentially for association records, you only, when it comes to the annual meeting, you only have to keep them for up to a year. But if you have a contentious election, now you should probably keep those for a longer period of time. And again, I don't want to give you information or try to lead you the wrong way, but if you're not using electronic voting now, at this point in time, you're wasting your time. It is so efficient, it's so quick, and I would say probably one of our hosts here probably has that capability within their system. Why do you want to recreate the wheel? And it's very simple. You send out a notice. Do you want a physical copy or do you want to vote online? And our annual meeting that I have for 193 units, the election process only takes about 15 minutes because we do everything online. We do it quick, it's efficient. And here's the other component that you have. You'll have more people that vote via electronically than you will by sending in a physical ballot. Just something to think about. And this all goes into retention of records. Here's a very simple component that you have. 7, 10, 50. What is 7? Well, you should keep minimum your records for 7 years. Other types of records you're going to keep indefinite. Why is 10 important? Because if an owner requests the information within in a certain period of time, you have to provide it to them within 10 working/business days of a written request. End of story. Now, there are different records that you need to provide versus what you cannot provide. And why is 50 important? Because every day that it goes beyond that 10 days that you don't provide it, you can be charged $50 per day up to a maximum amount of $500. Oh, well, that's not bad. Well, it may not be bad paying $500, but what happens after that? Arbitration, attorneys get involved, and now you're talking substantial amount of money. Okay? And money can go very quick when you get with attorneys. I deal with attorneys all the time in different facets. And I mean, we had an issue that was relatively not that complicated, but it went back and forth, $18,000. I have personal litigation against someone. We haven't even gone to trial yet, and I'm up to 65,000. So you want to avoid the potential costs and the fees that are affiliated with not providing the records in time. And it's inevitable if you're not going to have it readily available for these unit owners to see. Data recovery. I found this very, very interesting. The law says, and the statute says, that if you don't have the records, that you should try to recreate them. Think about that. How can I recreate a record before my time? Or can I remember what happened 2 years ago? No. Well, I can. But look at some of the information some of this information is readily available. Amendments, because it's probably within the county, declaration, other county records, banks keep their records for 7 years. You could probably recreate invoices going to the particular company, accounting, etc. But look at the very last two comments. It says, however, the association should not simply invent records or create minutes that can be substantiated. So you don't want to create something, and that then opens up a whole nother issue that you could deal with. So you got to be aware of what's going on. And it's passing the baton from one board or board member to another. And it's critical that you have this information. And, again, I rely heavily on my treasurer of the association, because what's the historical data for this? What did we spend? What did we do? And fortunately, she's a type A personality like mine, and within an hour, she'll answer. And that saved me a lot of time. And we work together as a team. We may not always agree. There's only 5 of us on the board. We may not always agree with the direction, but what we do agree upon is for the betterment of the association and the majority rules. And you have to work together and help each other out.
Tom, I'm going to interject with a question, if I could.
Yeah.
First, if everyone has a question, if you could be sure that you're putting it in the Q&A, not in the chat. I'm going to clarify that Tom is not an attorney before I read this question, but here's the question. It's from Jennifer. If our website portal has all of the documents on a records request, can we just direct the owner to go to the website, or do we have to extract the data being requested on the website and provide it to the owner requesting records?
I would suggest that you respond because you always want to cover yourself, CYA. And what I would do is I would respond to them and say, all the records that you're requesting are on the website. Here's where they are located. If you think that they're going to give you heartburn on that particular matter, then I would go that extra mile and provide it for them. But again, if it's available to them, why do you have to assist them? That's my thought process.
But Tom, I agree with you. I mean, if you've gotten a written records request from a homeowner, you want to make sure that your response is written, stating where the documents are located. And if you are a community that fits the law requirements to have a website, then all those documents should be accessible and your records requests should become minimal.
Correct. Correct. I mean, in your response, you can add the link to where they could go to it. Because again, we're dealing with people that may not have the technological skill. So you could tell them go to the website and they may be floundering there and not know how to get to the record. So that's what I'm saying. You always have to protect yourself because if you don't respond, then they're going to say, you didn't respond to me in 10 days. But if you respond and say, here's all the information, I think you facilitate the law and the process that's there. That's a good question. Again, here's additional records that you have to maintain: check register, bank statements, reconciliation. This should all be in your financials. And again, very, very important that you have it, that you maintain it up to 7 years. Tax return, budget, reserve schedules, 7 years minimum, audit reports. Contract and vendor. Do you have all these agreements on file? Do you have elevator agreements? Do you have pool agreements? These are all important. And I'm not going to dive into it, but there's requirements at how you have to bid items out based on price and things of that type as well. Totally different. But you want to keep this on file because what if someone gets hurt? What is the liability? What is the discovery that's going to be a part of the process? And again, if you have the proper system, why is it a big deal? Excuse me, that you can't keep this for 7 years. Very, very important and very, very simplified. Insurance records. Who keeps insurance records? Claim file, policies, endorsements, all this. And I'll give you a personal thought process here. In 2022, by our association, we had a tornado go by our property. Fortunately, it didn't hit the property, but it was very close. It did damage to our property. So the insurance company would not settle. So we pursued other actions. Well, now that we're in litigation with that particular insurance company, what's the very first thing that they did? They want to see all the emails from 2018. They want to see all the records from 2018. Okay, yeah, it's longer than what the period should have, but fortunately, we had all those files, and that's a positive result in our environment that we have. Warranties, engineer reports. Again, you see there's a lot of redundancy that we saw. Maintain permanently, reserve site engineer reports. These are all critical. What about your warranty? What about service on it? And again, what if you have people that are coming and going, the board, or maybe you have a manager? Not often do managers stay for a period of longevity. So it's critical that you create the foundation and you put that in, because this will benefit you in the long term over time. Very, very critical that you do this. Now, we're getting into certain items here. The majority of this information, the majority of the records you're required to provide, but other records you're not. So if you have attorney-client privilege, it cannot be reviewed. If they're doing a study, they cannot request that, like work product. Say in my particular case with the insurance company, we have a engineer looking at that. The owners cannot see that at the interim time period until it's released because it could get into the wrong hands. So anytime as board president, me personally, there are only two people that talk to the attorney, and that is the president and the vice president. The other three board members are not privy to that information. We will share that information in a meeting at a later time, but the reason why we do it from that facet is because what it does is it provides attorney-client privilege, and then those records cannot be disclosed, they cannot be released. Think about your employees. Do you want to give out personal records about where they live, how much they make, information of that? No, of course not. Medical records, of course not. Social Security numbers, no. There's certain information that cannot be disclosed or released to the homeowners. And it's pretty straightforward about how you go about the process. So take that into consideration, that you can give the majority of information out, but there's a small portion that you cannot give out. Very, very simplified. Oh, you keep it going. Driver's license, credit card, security. It's, you're not going to give out an email. You're not going to give out a phone number. That is all information that would be protected under the Act and not have readily access to a homeowner or an owner wanting that information within the 10-day period. Now, one of the things that you should do, and there's quite a few slides here, can you charge for this? The answer is yes. You can charge reasonable copying fees for that. And one of the things that you have to do is the board should look at this and review how you're going to deal with this situation. Is it going to be the manager? Is it going to be a supervisor? Is it going to be the board president? Where are they going to be able to see the files? What time are they going to be able to do it? And is it going to be the second Tuesday of next week, or is it going to be February 29th? You have to have a set procedure and time frame about what's there. And what is reasonable copying charges? Is it what Kinko's charges, or do you have something at your office that you have a charge fee for? Those are very, very important, because I don't want to work at 7 o'clock at night to have a homeowner come in and pull a file because they work during the day. Going back to the digital program, there's so many different ways that you have information out there. Do you have a cloud-based system? Do you have a backup? Do you have two-factor authentication? There's so many different platforms that are out there that you can keep. And most of the systems, as I said, 45 different softwares out there. Our sponsor today, our provider for the, probably backs up their system probably twice a day. And that's important to know, because what's going to happen? You have to have that recovery plan. You have to have that information, because you don't want to lose it and you want to have access to it. What is the policy? Did the association create a resolution for a retention policy? Do they have a record inspection policy? What are you going to destroy after that 7-year time frame? How are you going to destroy it? What is your policy? What is your email retention? Do you have cybersecurity? I mean, one of the things that I'm sure we've all been contacted by someone, everyone's always trying to get into your email. You got to change the passwords. You got to do all that protection. Same thing goes for your records and your files. Who has the keys to the kingdom? Who's going to have that? How are you going to deal with this? I mean, I'm here giving you information based on research, knowledge, experience, etc. You're probably more knowledgeable than I am on the system, but this is so critical. And from the 40,000-foot view, the state of Florida thinks this is so critical that you have to take 2 classes on it to renew your license. So it's important to them. So it's something that you have to take seriously and consider when you're dealing with this. So now we're going to get into some information here. And I hope everyone gets 100% on the test here. Okay? So let's start out with the very first question that you have. So, very simple. I'm not going to read it for you, but what is the answer? Answer is 7 years. Gotta keep it for 7 years. Next question. Can an owner inspect association records? Yes or no? The answer is yes. They have a legal right to inspect many official records, not all. Remember, client attorney privilege, that would be one they would not be able to inspect. True or false? Can the association require them to explain? False. Associations generally cannot require a reason. Very simple. Which of these is usually considered an official record? And the answer is, and here's the professor in me. Anytime that you see a question with all the above, the answer is usually all the above. I'll teach you how to get 100% on a test. And the answer is all the above. Here's a bonus question. Why is record access important? And what did we just learn? When it's all the above, you pick all the above. You want transparency, financial accounting, and you want informed owners. The better the owners are informed, the shorter the board meetings are going to go. And I'm going to make a generic question or statement, which I'll probably get chastised later. If your board meeting is going more than an hour, hour and a half, you're doing something wrong. Shorten that board meeting. Get it down. Don't make this a marathon meeting. Okay, here's a scenario. Sue asks to see all this information. Should the association provide them? The answer is yes. These are generally official records. John submits a written request. 20 days have passed, no response. Could there be consequences? Yes. Remember, $50 a day, up to the 10 days, $500. Then what happens? Then arbitration and the attorney gets involved. An owner asks, can I just see the financials? Can the association say no? The answer is no. Financial records are part of the budget accounting and general records. Information for your board meeting. Are your records organized? They easy to locate? Who's going to track this? Is it going to be you as the manager? Is it going to be the secretary? How quickly can you produce the minutes? Well, remember, minutes are usually not approved to the next board meeting, so you got a 30-day lag in there. But if they're asking for it, you have them record it. It's within that 10-day grace period. How readily available financials, same thing, got to be approved at the next board meeting. Do you have a retention policy? Do you have it backed up? What would you records pass today? None. Do you have them all in boxes? These are good questions for your board to come up with and answer. And remember, look at executive summary. You gotta have documentation, you have to have them stored. If you don't have them, you gotta recreate them. You gotta provide them within 10 days. Strong record management is gonna resolve the potential litigation. You're not gonna have issues from the state, and it's gonna reduce board liability. And then I got a little humor in here. And with that, I'm done with my presentation unless you have 30. I only answer up to 35 questions. More than that, I'm done. So, any questions, Jayme?
No, I've answered them along the way. Thank you.
Okay. So, I hope you enjoy the class. PowerPoint, well, it'll be in the recording. This is all basic information, but it's very straightforward. There's, in my opinion, no gray area.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. A lot of charts there. I will get this out to everybody so that you can share it with your boards, share it with your office staff at your property management companies even. I'm sure you have some new managers that are not familiar with all of these details. And Tom, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate this class. It really opened my eyes even further about many of the things that we need classes for. So I hope everybody enjoyed the class. Jayme, I can't thank you enough for moderating. And
I do have one question that came in, sorry.
sure, go ahead.
From Autumn, for official records, proposals, do all proposals need to be posted on the website or just the approved proposals? And how quickly do they need to be on the website?
Again, not being an attorney, but I would keep copies of the proposals because what it's shown is that the board went out and got multiple bids and they weren't playing favorites to a particular company.
Another question, is there a limit on a documents request per owner? I'm going to answer that and say, no, there is not.
Unfortunately.
Right, but that's the other reason why you want to have everything on the website, because if you're referring everybody to the website and your website is organized, which was one of the comments made from an owner, was that their board just threw everything on their website as if it was a storage unit in boxes. It was not organized as you had shown the sample of, or Vinteum would help organize your website for that. If you are organized and it's easily accessible, which truly was the point of the law, it limits the amount of documents requests and it allows owners to see what they want to see that are of legitimate operations of the association. One more question. Someone came in a few minutes late. Was there anything needed to do to get the certificate? The answer is no. That if you were registered for this class, you attended the class, you're a CAM, your credits will go to the DBPR, and if you're a board member, you will receive a certificate of the class.
And two comments to add. One, I'll be the one that is putting that in for the state. So as Peggy said, give me about 10 days. It'll be in before the end of the month, but just give me a little time because I have to take all that information, put it in and log in. And going back to what Jayme was saying, reminiscing for a minute, when I started my doctorate degree, the first two classes they made every student take was time management and organization because they wanted you to focus on what's important. And that's some of the lecturing that I do. Why do you want to spend your time dealing with Mr. and Mrs. Jones about sending minutes when you can respond in an email and say, here's the link for the minutes. They're all there. Have at it.
There's a few more questions of people wanting to know how they get a copy of the PowerPoint. I believe Peggy will be providing the PowerPoint with the summary of the sponsor list. Again, if you have projects coming up or in need of services, please utilize or at least reach out and discuss with the great service providers that Peggy puts together for these webinars. Tom, you got a lot of kudos, thank yous, great job. I don't see any other questions though.
Well, and Peggy sends that information out. So if they have additional questions or whatnot, they can reach out to any of us, and everyone on here is more than happy to provide information and assist.
Awesome. Yeah, excellent information. To put it all together like that, it's always such, is this 7 years, 10 years, $10, $50? It's just all can be so confusing. And as a new board member too, I know a lot of them coming in for this year, you don't even get a handbook on here. This is what you need to know. It's kind of like when you have a kid, it's like there's no book on how to be a mom, how to be a dad, how to be a family. It's just, okay, here, you got the title, go for it. So, Tom, this is excellent information, pulling it all together, and my hats off to you. So I'm going to close it out here. I want to say thank you to everyone. I said Tom for sure, and Jayme and all the sponsors. I also want to thank the board members. You are volunteers. Everybody knows that. Your communities should be aware of that, but your time is so valuable and so important to be on these webinars because knowledge is just so important. Knowing what your managers need to know, and I want to thank the managers also for being on because, you can choose to take different classes. We appreciate you choosing our class today. I will mention a few of the classes that are coming up. I think I'm really excited about this. Starting with this Friday, a couple days away here. The Construction Summit series is something that I developed starting in January with Rudy Martin of GM Painting. What we do is we actually have on special speakers specifically for construction. So with this class that we have coming up this week, we have an engineering firm coming on. This is going to be what is it called? Stone Building Solutions. And he is going to be in a discussion about from panicking to your plan with your budget season and how to survive it. So I think it's going to be very interesting. We have the attorney firm of Ball Janik on as well, part of the panel. And we also have Valley National Bank on to support some of the financial part of the budget information. Then we also have Ball Janik, I mentioned earlier. Peggy Vivas is coming back on August 26th. HR is the credit, and the topic is communication. So this can be used by the boards communicating better with the managers communicating better with the boards, and also with your team. So I'm very excited about this course, and also too, HR credits are hard to get. I'm excited also to mention that on August 28th, which is a week from Friday, we have the Emergency Management Team Director from Tampa giving a presentation that they put together for the city of Tampa. But I've seen the presentation just in a quick review of the slides, and it's awesome for anybody all over the state because we all have to deal at some point with storms and disaster situations and hurricanes. But he's got a awesome amount of information available that is also available in a guide if you want to request a guide. Tom is also working on phase 2 of this EH2. So there's an EH1 class today on records, and then EH2 is more on accounting. He's waiting for approval by the DBPR. Mark your calendar for September the 1st. That's our calendar, our target date. If he gets it approved by then, if not, we will reschedule, and we're trying to get this done before September 30th for you. So Tom, we appreciate that. I want you to also mark your calendar for September 18th. There's a roofing class coming for the construction summit again, but I'm mentioning it today to mark your calendars because it's all about warranties and some of the misconceptions about warranties is very important. And that's going to also have a panel. And then lastly, just to mention in October, mark your calendar, October 6th, if you're in the Palm Beach area, there's going to be a substantial trade show with some great classes available at the Palm Beach Convention Center. So thank you all so much for coming today. We sure appreciate everybody's attendance. And if you have any questions further about banking, you can reach out to Jayme and Tom and Deneen, and also use the sponsor sheet. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.